The encounter. On the distant planet of Neria, the sky shimmered in shades of purple and blue. Strange plants grew tall, their leaves glowing softly in the twilight. It was a beautiful place, full of mystery and wonder. Princess Lyra, the youngest daughter of the Nyran king, stood at the edge of a great cliff. She looked out over the vast landscape, her heart filled with both curiosity and loneliness. As a princess, she was expected to be strong and wise, but sometimes she wished for more than royal duties and expectations. One day, while exploring the forbidden areas of Neria, Lyra noticed a strange light in the sky. It was bright and unlike anything she had seen before. Curious, she decided to investigate. As she made her way through the thick, colorful foliage, the light grew brighter, and her excitement grew with it. She knew she was crossing into territory that was not meant for her, but her adventurous spirit could not be contained. As she approached the source of the light, she heard a loud crash. It sounded like thunder, but was too sharp and sudden. Suddenly, a metallic object fell from the sky, landing with a loud thud. Lyra rushed forward, her heart pounding with excitement and fear. What could it be? Could it be a new form of life? As she drew closer, she realized it was a strange craft, unlike anything she had ever seen. It was smooth and shining, with strange symbols painted all over it. Cautiously, Lyra approached the wreck. Smoke billowed from the side, and she could hear strange noises inside. She hesitated for a moment, unsure whether she should go closer. But her curiosity won. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer to the craft. Just then, the door suddenly opened with a loud hiss. Out stumbled a figure covered in strange clothing. It was a human. Lyra gasped, her heart racing. She had heard stories of humans, but she had never seen one in real life. He looked disoriented and confused, rubbing his head as if he had just woken from a dream. His hair was dark, and his eyes were wide with surprise as he looked around. "Hello," the human said, his voice deep and slightly shaky. Lyra could not respond at first. She was mesmerized by the sight of him. He was taller than her, and his skin was a different color, but his expression was one of wonder, just like hers. After a moment, Lyra found her voice. "Who are you?" she asked, trying to keep her tone steady despite her racing heart. "I'm Jake," he replied. "I crashed my ship. I didn't mean to land here." He looked around, realizing where he was. "Where am I?" "This is Neria," Lyra said, her curiosity growing. "You are far from home." Jake looked confused but also intrigued. "Neria. I didn't know there were other planets with life. I thought I was alone out here." Lyra stepped closer, drawn to him. "You are not alone anymore," she said softly. "But you should not be here. It is dangerous for humans on Neria." "Dangerous?" Jake asked, raising an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "The Nyrans do not trust humans," Lyra explained. "There is a long history of conflict between our worlds. My people might see you as a threat." Jake's expression turned serious. "I don't want to be a threat. I just want to go home." Lyra felt a strange connection forming between them. Here was a human, someone her people had been taught to fear, standing before her, looking lost and afraid. "I can help you," she said without thinking. "But you must promise to trust me." Jake nodded slowly, relief washing over his face. "I promise. Thank you." They moved away from the crash site, hiding behind a cluster of bright blue bushes. Lyra felt a thrill of excitement at being with Jake. She had always been taught that humans were dangerous, but he seemed different. They began to talk about their worlds, sharing stories and laughter. Lyra learned about Earth, with its vast oceans and towering mountains. Jake listened in awe as she described Neria, its floating islands and glowing flowers. They spent hours together, lost in conversation and the beauty of their newfound friendship. Lyra felt her heart swell with joy. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the landscape, Lyra realized she was falling for this human. It was forbidden, and it scared her. How could she feel this way about someone from a world so different from hers? But in that moment, none of that mattered. All she wanted was to be with Jake. But as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, a shadow fell over Lyra's heart. She knew her people would never accept this bond. The risks were high, and the consequences could be dire. Still, as she looked into Jake's eyes, filled with trust and kindness, she felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they could find a way to bridge the gap between their worlds. "Stay with me, Jake," she whispered, not ready to let go of this magical moment. "Let's find a way." Jake smiled, and for a brief moment, everything felt perfect. But deep down, Lyra knew that their encounter would change everything, and the path ahead would be filled with challenges. As they stood together under the stars, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that their lives would never be the same again. The rising tension. The sun rose over Neria, casting a warm glow on the landscape. Lyra awoke with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The memory of her encounter with Jake lingered in her mind, filling her heart with warmth, but also fear. What would happen when her people learned about the human? Would they accept him, or would they see him as a threat? As she prepared for the day, Lyra's thoughts were consumed by the gravity of the situation. She knew she had to be cautious. The Nyrans had always viewed humans with suspicion, and for good reason. Stories of past conflicts and betrayals loomed large in the minds of her people. Yet, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that Jake was different. He was not the monster her people imagined. Meanwhile, Jake was still trying to comprehend his new surroundings. After crashing on Neria, he felt lost and disoriented. He had spent countless hours studying the stars and exploring the galaxy, but never had he expected to find himself in a world so vibrant and alive. He wandered the alien landscape, marveling at the strange flora and fauna. Everything was beautiful, but he felt a sense of dread. He needed to fix his ship and return to Earth, but how could he do that with an alien princess by his side? As Lyra and Jake met later that morning, their bond grew stronger. They shared laughter and stories, exploring the forest together. But tension hung in the air like a heavy fog. Lyra was aware that time was running out. She had to introduce Jake to her people, but she was terrified of their reaction. "Lyra, what will happen if they find out about me?" Jake asked, looking into her eyes, concern etched on his face. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I have to take you to the capital. We can explain everything to my father, the king. He might listen to me. But what if he doesn't?" Jake pressed, his voice tense. "What if he sees me as a threat?" Lyra took a deep breath, her heart racing. "Then I will protect you," she vowed. "You are my friend, and I will do everything I can to keep you safe." As they made their way to the capital, the mood shifted. Lyra felt both exhilarated and terrified. They walked through fields of glowing flowers that swayed gently in the breeze, their petals releasing a sweet fragrance. Jake admired the beauty, but he could sense Lyra's anxiety. As they approached the city, the towering spires of the Nyran capital came into view. The buildings were made of shimmering crystals, reflecting the sunlight in a dazzling array of colors. But as they drew closer, Jake felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. This was not just a beautiful place. It was the heart of a powerful kingdom that could decide his fate. "Lyra, are you sure about this?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lyra looked up at him, determination in her eyes. "I have to be. You deserve a chance to explain yourself. You're not like the others." They reached the gates of the capital, where guards stood vigilant, their eyes scanning for any threats. Lyra took a deep breath, steeling herself. "We must be careful," she said. "I will introduce you as my friend." As they stepped inside, the bustling city filled with the sounds of merchants calling out, children laughing, and Nyrans going about their day. It was vibrant and alive, yet Lyra could feel the tension in the air. She could see the wary glances directed at Jake, and it made her heart race with fear. "Stay close to me," Lyra whispered to Jake, who nodded, his expression serious. They navigated the streets, drawing attention. The whispers began almost immediately. Is that a human? What is the princess doing with him? Is he here to spy on us? Lyra's heart sank as she heard the fearful words. She could feel the eyes of her people on them, full of suspicion and mistrust. This was not how she had envisioned introducing Jake. She had hoped for acceptance, but instead she felt a wave of hostility. Finally, they reached the Grand Palace, an impressive structure that loomed above them. Lyra took a deep breath, knowing the hardest part was yet to come. Inside, the halls were adorned with intricate carvings and glowing crystals. The air was thick with tension as they approached the throne room. "Stay behind me," Lyra instructed Jake, who nodded, his face pale. As they entered the throne room, the king sat upon his grand throne, surrounded by advisors and guards. His expression was stern, and his eyes narrowed as he looked at Jake. Lyra felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "Father," Lyra said, her voice steady despite her fear, "I have brought a visitor." The king's gaze shifted to Jake, and the tension in the room was palpable. "What is the meaning of this, Lyra? Is that a human?" "Yes, father. His name is Jake," Lyra replied, trying to keep her voice calm. "He means us no harm." The king's expression darkened. "Humans have only brought trouble to our world. We cannot trust him. But he's different. He crashed here by accident." Lyra pleaded. "He wants to return home. I believe he can help us understand each other." The king's face remained impassive. "We have no need for humans. They are dangerous." Jake took a step forward, heart racing. "Your Majesty, I swear I mean no harm. I want to help." The room erupted into chaos, voices rising as everyone spoke over one another. Lyra felt a sense of panic rising within her. She knew they were running out of time. If her father could not be swayed, Jake would be in danger. "Enough," the king shouted, his voice echoing through the hall. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. "Lyra, you must understand the danger you are putting us in. We cannot allow a human to roam our city." Lyra's heart sank. She could see Jake's disappointment and fear. This was not the outcome she had hoped for. "Father, please," she cried, desperation creeping into her voice. "Give him a chance." But the king was unyielding. "Take him away. He must leave Neria immediately." As the guard stepped forward to escort Jake away, Lyra felt a surge of determination. She could not let this happen. "No," she shouted, stepping in front of Jake. "I will not let you take him." The tension in the room escalated, and Lyra could feel the weight of her father's anger. She was risking everything for a human, but she believed in Jake. They had a connection, one that could bridge the gap between their worlds. She had to fight for it. "Father, this is my decision," she declared. "If you banish him, you will lose me as well." The king's expression shifted, surprise flickering in his eyes. He had never seen his daughter so defiant. "Lyra," but she stood firm, heart racing. "I refuse to let fear dictate our fate. We must find a way to coexist." In that moment, Lyra knew that their encounter had sparked something greater than just friendship. It had ignited a battle for acceptance, a fight for understanding in a world filled with distrust. She would not back down, and she hoped that Jake would stand with her, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The brewing storm. The tension in the throne room thickened like the storm clouds gathering outside. Lyra stood defiantly, her heart pounding as she faced her father, King Elon. The eyes of the court were on her, filled with a mix of shock, disbelief, and curiosity. Jake shifted nervously behind her, sensing the gravity of the situation. "Lyra, you must see reason," King Elon said, his voice steady but laced with concern. "This human could bring danger to our people. He is not one of us." Lyra's voice trembled but remained resolute. "But he is not our enemy, father. He is a person, just like us, with hopes and dreams. You can't condemn him without knowing him." "Enough," the king thundered. "You do not understand the history of humans, and their threats to our world. They have betrayed us before, and I will not let it happen again." Jake felt a wave of frustration wash over him. "Your Majesty, I'm not here to cause trouble. I crashed on your planet by accident. All I want is to fix my ship and return home. I promise I mean no harm." The murmurs in the room grew louder, with many advisors whispering among themselves. Some looked intrigued, while others remained skeptical. King Elon glanced at them, his expression conflicted. "Why should I believe a word you say?" the king asked, narrowing his eyes at Jake. "Your kind has a reputation, and it is not one we can ignore. Please, just give me a chance to prove myself," Jake urged, stepping forward. "If I were a threat, wouldn't I have acted already? I only want to help Lyra and learn about your people." Lyra placed a hand on Jake's shoulder, a silent gesture of support. She could feel the energy between them, a shared determination to bridge the gap between their worlds. "Father, let him stay. If you allow us to work together, we can show you that humans can be allies, not enemies." The king's gaze flickered between Lyra and Jake, weighing their words. For a moment, it seemed as if he might relent, but then his expression hardened again. "You do not understand the risks involved. I cannot put our kingdom in danger based on your feelings for this human." Lyra's heart sank. She could see the stubbornness in her father's eyes, the unyielding belief that humans were inherently dangerous. "I will take responsibility for him," she declared. "If he causes any trouble, it will be on my head." "Your head?" The king scoffed, but Lyra continued, her voice strong and unwavering. "If I can prove that Jake is harmless, you must reconsider your stance. If he leaves now, it will only reinforce your belief that humans cannot be trusted. But if he stays, we might find a way to unite our worlds." The room fell silent, the tension palpable. King Elon rubbed his temples, visibly torn. The advisors exchanged glances, some appearing intrigued by Lyra's boldness, while others looked disapproving. "Very well," the king finally said, his tone begrudging. "I will allow this human to stay, but under strict conditions. He will be closely monitored at all times. Any sign of trouble, and he will be banished immediately." Lyra let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Thank you, father," she said, relief flooding her voice. "But," the king continued, his voice stern, "you will also be responsible for him. Lyra, this is a test for both of you. Prove that he can be trusted, or face the consequences." Jake nodded, grateful but also anxious. "I won't let you down, Your Majesty. I'll do whatever it takes to show you I'm not a threat." "Very well," King Elon said, dismissing them with a wave of his hand. "You may leave." As they stepped outside the throne room, the weight of their challenge hung heavily in the air. Lyra turned to Jake, her eyes shining with determination. "We did it. You're safe for now." "Thanks to you," Jake replied, a smile breaking through his tension. "I didn't think your father would agree." Lyra shrugged, a mixture of pride and fear coursing through her. "He loves me, but he is also very protective of our people. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we can do this together." As they walked through the bustling streets of the capital, Lyra felt the eyes of the citizens upon them. Some looked curious, while others glared at Jake, their expressions filled with distrust. Lyra squeezed Jake's hand reassuringly, knowing how difficult this would be for him. "I guess it's time to meet the people," Lyra said, trying to keep the mood light. "Yes, because nothing says welcome like a hostile crowd," Jake replied, attempting a joke to ease his nerves. Lyra chuckled but could see the tension in his posture. "Just be yourself," Lyra encouraged him. "If they see who you are, maybe they will understand." They ventured into the market, a vibrant place filled with colors and scents. Stalls lined the streets, displaying various goods, from shimmering fabrics to strange fruits. Lyra led Jake through the bustling crowd, showing him the wonders of her world. "Wow, this is amazing," Jake exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder as he took in the sights. But as they passed by, Whispers began to rise again. What is she doing with him? One vendor murmured. He'll ruin everything. Lyra's heart sank at the negative comments. Ignore them, she said quietly to Jake. It will take time for people to accept you. As they stopped at a stall selling fruits, Jake picked up a small glowing orb. What's this? He asked, inspecting it curiously. Zillari fruit, Lyra replied, grinning. It's sweet and delicious. Try it. Jake took a cautious bite, and his eyes lit up with surprise. Wow, this is incredible, he said, savoring the taste. Lyra laughed, her spirits lifting slightly. See, if you can impress them with your taste in food, maybe they will warm up to you. But as they continued their walk, the mood shifted again. A group of Nyran soldiers approached, their eyes narrowed as they focused on Jake. Lyra instinctively stepped in front of him, ready to defend her friend. What are you doing with that human, princess? One soldier demanded, his voice harsh. Lyra's heart raced. He is my friend. We're just exploring the market. The soldier scoffed, looking at Jake with disdain. A friend. You put our kingdom at risk by associating with him. You should know better. Enough. Lyra shouted, surprising even herself with her anger. I will not tolerate this disrespect. Jake means no harm. The soldiers exchanged looks, but Lyra could see the uncertainty in their eyes. They had always been taught to view humans as a threat, and it would take time to change their minds. Let's go, Lyra said to Jake, urging him to move away from the soldiers. They continued through the market, but Lyra could feel the weight of judgment in the air. As they finally reached a quieter part of the city, Lyra turned to Jake, her expression serious. I know this is hard, but we have to prove to my people that you're not a threat. They need to see you as a friend, not an enemy. I'll do whatever it takes, Jake promised, determination in his eyes. I just want to show them who I really am. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the city, Lyra and Jake felt a sense of purpose. They had a long journey ahead, filled with challenges and uncertainties, but they were ready to face it together. Their bond was growing stronger, and they both knew that this was just the beginning of a much larger story, Shadows of the Past. The days passed in a blur of activity as Lyra and Jake worked tirelessly to prove that their bond could bridge the gap between their worlds. The alien capital was filled with vibrant colors and bustling markets, but Jake found it hard to enjoy the beauty around him. The glances and whispers from the Nyrans weighed heavily on him. Despite their growing friendship, the tension lingered in the air, thick and palpable. Lyra tried her best to shield Jake from the negativity, but each day brought new challenges. The Nyran Council had convened to discuss Jake's presence in the kingdom, and Lyra knew the pressure was mounting. One afternoon, they found themselves in the royal gardens, a lush area filled with alien flora that shimmered under the sunlight. Lyra was showing Jake a flower that changed colors when touched. It was one of her favorites, and she hoped it would lighten the mood. See, it's beautiful, Lyra said, her fingers brushing the petals. Jake smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Yeah, it's amazing. But I feel like a circus animal out here. Everyone's just watching me, waiting for me to mess up. Lyra frowned, sensing his frustration. I know it's tough, but you have to stay strong. We're making progress. Just yesterday, some of the merchants spoke positively about you. Positive? Jake raised an eyebrow. I heard them say I was a threat. That's just their fear talking, Lyra insisted. They don't know you yet. They only see a human, a stranger. Just as she finished speaking, a commotion erupted nearby. A group of Nyran soldiers was marching through the garden, their armor glinting in the sunlight. Jake instinctively stepped back, tensing at their approach. What are you doing here, princess? One of the soldiers called out, his voice dripping with disdain. Is this human bothering you? Lyra straightened her back, determined to stand her ground. No, he is not. He is my friend, and I won't let you treat him like this. Friend? The soldier laughed mockingly. You're playing with fire, princess. Do you think the king will allow this? I don't care what the king thinks. This is my choice. Lyra shot back, her voice steady. The soldier stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. You're risking your life and the safety of our kingdom for this human. You need to realize the dangers he represents. Jake felt a surge of anger rising within him. I'm not a danger to anyone. I came here by accident, and all I want is to help. The soldier laughed again, this time more cruelly. Help? How can you help when your kind has brought nothing but destruction in the past? As they discussed ideas, Lyra felt a sense of hope looming in her heart. Perhaps this festival could be the turning point they needed. If Jake could connect with her people through music, it might help them see beyond their fear and prejudice. The days leading up to the festival were filled with preparation. Lyra helped Jake gather supplies to create an instrument from local materials. They worked side by side, laughter and lightness beginning to fill the air around them. As they crafted the instrument, Lyra noticed the way Jake's eyes sparkled with passion and determination. It reminded her of why she had fallen for him in the first place. He was brave, willing to face the unknown for the sake of their friendship. On the day of the festival, the capital was alive with vibrant decorations, the streets filled with music and laughter. Lyra wore a beautiful gown that shimmered like the stars, while Jake donned clothing made from the fabrics they had found together. As they walked through the crowd, Jake's nerves began to bubble up again. What if they don't like it? What if I can't play well? He murmured, doubt creeping into his voice. Just be yourself, Lyra reassured him, taking his hand. Remember, this is about showing who you are. Whether they love it or hate it, it doesn't matter. You'll be sharing a part of yourself, and that's what counts. The festival began, with various performances showcasing Nyran traditions. Lyra watched in awe as dancers moved gracefully, their outfits swirling like colors in the wind. But her mind kept returning to Jake and his performance. Finally, it was their turn. The crowd quieted as Lyra took the stage, a mixture of excitement and fear coursing through her. She introduced Jake, her heart pounding in her chest. Today, we want to share a piece of Earth with you, a glimpse into our world through music. Jake stepped forward, his instrument resting against his side. He could feel the weight of the audience's gaze, their curiosity tinged with skepticism. But he took a deep breath, remembering Lyra's words. As he began to play, a melody flowed from his fingers, filling the air with a sound that was both haunting and beautiful. The notes danced around them, weaving a tapestry of emotion. The crowd remained silent, captivated by the unexpected performance. Lyra watched, her heart swelling with pride as Jake poured his soul into the music. For the first time, she saw the barriers beginning to break down. The Nyrans were listening, their expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue. As the last note lingered in the air, silence enveloped the crowd. Jake's hands trembled, uncertainty flooding him. But then, a slow clap began, followed by a wave of applause. Lyra's face lit up with joy as she joined in, cheering for Jake's bravery. In that moment, Jake realized he had connected with them. He had shared a piece of himself, and it had resonated with the people. It was just the beginning of a much larger story, one that would challenge their beliefs and strengthen the bond between their worlds. As they left the stage, Lyra beamed at Jake, her eyes shining with pride. You did it. They loved you. Jake exhaled deeply, a smile breaking across his face. I can't believe it. Thank you for believing in me, Lyra. This is just the start, she said, her heart racing with hope. Together, we can show them that unity is possible. And in that moment, they both understood that the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but their bond was stronger than any obstacle. Together, they would fight to change the hearts and minds of their worlds. Rising tensions. The festival had ended on a high note, but the aftermath brought with it a sense of unease. The applause for Jake's performance echoed in Lyra's mind. Yet not all were pleased with the growing friendship between the human and the alien princess. Whispers of discontent floated through the streets, and shadows of doubt began to loom over them. In the days following the festival, Lyra and Jake faced mounting pressure from the Nyran Council. Some council members were furious about Lyra's defiance and her decision to welcome a human into their midst. The news of Jake's performance had spread like wildfire, igniting both admiration and disdain. One evening, Lyra and Jake met in the royal garden, a place that had become their sanctuary. The beauty of the flowers surrounded them, but their hearts were heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. "Have you heard the latest?" Lyra asked, her voice tinged with concern. "The council is calling for a meeting tomorrow to discuss our friendship." Jake frowned, his brow furrowing. "What do they want to discuss? I thought we were making progress." Lyra shook her head, her expression serious. "Some council members are demanding that you leave Nyr, claiming you are a threat to our kingdom. They believe your presence endangers our way of life." Jake's chest tightened at her words. "But I haven't done anything wrong. I came here by accident, and I only want to help." "I know," Lyra said softly, stepping closer. "But they don't see it that way. Fear clouds their judgment. They remember the tales of destruction and chaos that humans have caused in the past. But that's not fair. You can't judge a whole species based on past mistakes," Jake replied, frustration bubbling within him. "I'm not like that. I want to show them that we can work together." Lyra reached for Jake's hand, squeezing it gently. "We will find a way. We just need to convince them that you are not a danger. If we can show them the potential for peace, maybe they will change their minds." Jake nodded, determination igniting in his eyes. "What can we do?" "The council will hold a debate. I can speak for you, but we need more than words. We need evidence that humans can coexist with Nyrans," Lyra said, her mind racing with possibilities. "What if we set up a demonstration to showcase our collaboration?" Jake raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What kind of demonstration?" "Let's create a project that combines our knowledge and skills. We could show them a technological solution to a problem facing our kingdom," Lyra suggested. "It could prove that humans have much to offer." After brainstorming for hours, they settled on a plan to develop a sustainable energy source using Earth's technology combined with Nyran resources. The project could provide the kingdom with a renewable power source, while demonstrating that humans and Nyrans could work together for a common goal. The following day, Lyra and Jake gathered materials, sketching out their ideas on parchment. As they worked side by side, the excitement of their collaboration ignited a spark of hope within them. The air buzzed with creativity and ambition as they pooled their knowledge and resources. "I can't believe how much we can do together," Jake said, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. "This is amazing." Lyra smiled, her heart racing. "Yes, if we succeed, it could change everything. The council won't be able to ignore what we've achieved together." However, as they toiled on their project, the council met to discuss the growing rift between the Nyrans and the human. The room was filled with tension, voices raised as they debated Jake's presence in their kingdom. "Princess Lyra has put us at risk by allowing this human to stay. We cannot trust him," one council member shouted, his face flushed with anger. "Do not forget the destruction caused by humans in the past," another added, his voice booming. "We cannot risk our safety for the sake of one friendship." But others began to see the potential for peace. "Perhaps we should give him a chance. The festival showed us that there may be more to humans than we thought," a quieter member suggested. The debate raged on, and Lyra's heart sank as she listened from the shadows. She knew they were fighting an uphill battle, but she believed in Jake and what they could accomplish together. As they continued to work on their project, word of the council meeting reached them. The stakes were high, and Lyra felt the pressure weighing down on her. She was determined to prove that Jake belonged with them, but doubt began to creep into her mind. "Lyra," Jake said one evening, pausing in his work, "do you think this will really change anything? What if the council still sees me as a threat, no matter what we do?" She met his gaze, her heart aching for him. "I want to believe it will. but we can't predict their reactions. All we can do is show them the truth. Then let's finish this project and make it the best we can, Jake replied, his resolve shining through. If we put everything into this, they'll have to see what we can achieve together. As days turned into weeks, Lyra and Jake worked tirelessly, pouring their hearts into their demonstration. They faced countless obstacles, each one testing their determination. There were times when frustration threatened to consume them, but they pushed through, supporting each other in moments of doubt. Finally, the day of the council presentation arrived. The air crackled with tension as they stood before the assembled members. Lyra's heart raced as she took her place beside Jake, their project set up in front of them. Today, we stand together to showcase the potential of unity, Lyra began, her voice steady despite her nerves. We have combined our knowledge and skills to create a sustainable energy source that can benefit both Narrans and humans. Jake stepped forward, confidence radiating from him as he explained their project, demonstrating how their collaboration had yielded results. He showcased the innovative technology they had developed, detailing how it could solve energy problems facing Nair. The council listened intently, their expressions shifting as Jake spoke. He shared stories of Earth, of innovation and resilience, and how these qualities could be shared with Nairans. As he finished, the room fell silent, the weight of their words hanging in the air. Lyra held her breath, praying for acceptance. Finally, a council member stood up, his voice steady. "This is impressive work. Perhaps we have underestimated the potential for cooperation." Lyra's heart soared, but the tension remained. "But we must remember," he continued, "that trust is not built overnight. We need time to ensure that this partnership will not bring harm." Jake nodded, understanding the caution. "I'm willing to work alongside you, to prove that we can be allies. Give us a chance." The council members exchanged glances, whispers filling the room. The debate resumed, but the tide seemed to be turning. Slowly, the walls of mistrust began to crack. As Lyra and Jake exited the council chamber, they felt a rush of hope. "We did it," Jake said, disbelief etched on his face. "They're considering it." Lyra smiled brightly, her heart swelling with pride. "This is just the beginning. We have to keep pushing forward, no matter what happens." As they walked through the palace halls, laughter and lightness began to fill the air once more. Together, they had taken a significant step toward bridging the divide between their worlds. But lurking in the shadows, not everyone was ready to accept their friendship. Shadows of rebellion. The initial success of Lyra and Jake's presentation sent ripples through the kingdom of Nair. The council, while cautious, agreed to allow Jake to remain and work with Lyra on their energy project. Excitement buzzed in the air, but beneath the surface, dark clouds of discontent were gathering. As the days passed, Lyra and Jake dove into their work with renewed vigor. They spent countless hours in the lab, testing their technology and brainstorming new ideas. Each breakthrough brought them closer, not just as allies, but as friends. Their laughter filled the room, and the spark of collaboration ignited a passion for innovation. However, the council's decision did not sit well with everyone. A faction of council members who believed that humans could never be trusted began to plot behind closed doors. They whispered of rebellion and a return to the old ways, convinced that their kingdom would be better off without the influence of a foreign species. One evening, as Lyra and Jake were finalizing their project's design, a shadowy figure crept through the palace halls. He was a former council member, disgraced for his radical views. He had been watching Lyra and Jake, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Do you really believe this human is your friend?" he hissed as he stepped into their workspace, startling both Lyra and Jake. "You're a fool, princess. Humans are only here to exploit us." Lyra squared her shoulders, her eyes narrowing. "You don't know anything about him. Jake has shown nothing but respect and goodwill toward our people." "Respect?" The man scoffed, stepping closer. "Do you really think they can change? Humans are driven by greed and power. They will only bring destruction to our world." Jake stepped forward, anger flaring in his chest. You don't know me. You can't judge an entire species based on past mistakes. We're trying to help. The former council member laughed bitterly. Help? Is that what you call it? You're poisoning our minds with your lies, and soon they will see the truth. We must stop this before it's too late. Before Jake could respond, the man turned and fled, leaving a chill in the air. Lyra felt a knot tighten in her stomach. We need to warn the council about him, she said urgently. He's dangerous. Jake nodded, but doubt lingered in his mind. Do you think they'll listen? If they're already divided, this could push them further apart. Lyra bit her lip, her thoughts racing. We have to try. If we don't act, we risk everything we've worked for. We need to show them that unity is stronger than fear. The next day, Lyra and Jake presented their concerns to the council, explaining the threat posed by the disgraced member. Some council members were receptive, but others dismissed their fears, blinded by their own prejudices. This is a distraction, one council member shouted. You're just trying to sway us against those who are rightfully concerned about the human presence. Lyra's heart sank as she realized how deep the divide ran. They argued back and forth, but the council's decision remained split. The rift was growing, and Lyra feared for their project and their friendship. As the days turned into weeks, tensions continued to rise. Lyra and Jake worked harder than ever, determined to prove their worth. But with each passing day, whispers of rebellion grew louder. More council members joined the disgraced figure, igniting a firestorm of dissent against the idea of human integration. One night, while working late in the lab, Jake noticed something unusual outside the window. A gathering of people had formed in the palace courtyard, their voices rising in a chant against the alliance with humans. Fear gripped Jake's heart. Lyra, look, he called, pointing out the window. They're protesting. Lyra rushed to the window, her eyes widening in shock. We need to go out there and talk to them. They need to hear our side of the story. As they made their way through the palace, the atmosphere grew heavier. When they reached the courtyard, a crowd had formed, and the anger in their voices was palpable. Humans will bring ruin, shouted one of the protest leaders. We must stand united against this threat. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. Please, everyone, we can find a way to coexist. Jake has been nothing but kind to us, and together we can achieve great things. The crowd fell silent for a moment, confusion flickering across their faces. Jake stood beside Lyra, feeling the weight of their gazes. We're not here to take anything from you. We want to share knowledge, to help each other. You have seen what we can create together. But the protest leader stepped forward, anger sparking in his eyes. You speak of cooperation, but we only see a threat. You cannot be trusted, and we will not allow your kind to ruin our future. A wave of agreement surged through the crowd, and Jake's heart sank. It felt as though all hope was slipping away. Please, Lyra urged, desperation creeping into her voice. Give us a chance to show you what we can accomplish together. This project is more than just technology. It's a bridge between our worlds. The crowd remained divided, some murmuring in agreement while others shouted in dissent. The tension hung thick in the air, and Lyra felt the desperation creeping in. As Jake looked around, he felt a sense of foreboding. The shadows of rebellion were gathering strength, and he knew that time was running out. They had to act quickly before fear consumed everything they had worked for. That night, Lyra and Jake returned to the lab, the weight of the protest heavy on their shoulders. They were determined to show the council and the people of Mir that their friendship could withstand any challenge. But little did they know, a storm was brewing, one that would test their resolve and put their lives at risk. The next day, Lyra and Jake presented their concerns to the council, explaining the threat posed by the disgraced member. Some council members were receptive, but others dismissed their fears, blinded by their own prejudices. This is a distraction, one council member shouted. You're just trying to sway us against those who are rightfully concerned about the human presence. Lyra's heart sank as she realized how deep the divide ran. They argued back and forth, but the council's decision remained split. The rift was growing, and Lyra feared for their project and their friendship. As the days turned into weeks, tensions continued to rise. Lyra and Jake worked harder than ever, determined to prove their worth. But with each passing day, whispers of rebellion grew louder. More council members joined the disgraced figure, igniting a firestorm of dissent against the idea of human integration. One night, while working late in the lab, Jake noticed something unusual outside the window. A gathering of people had formed in the palace courtyard, their voices rising in a chant against the alliance with humans. Fear gripped Jake's heart. "Lyra, look," he called, pointing out the window. "They're protesting." Lyra rushed to the window, her eyes widening in shock. "We need to go out there and talk to them. They need to hear our side of the story." As they made their way through the palace, the atmosphere grew heavier. When they reached the courtyard, a crowd had formed, and the anger in their voices was palpable. "Humans will bring ruin," shouted one of the protest leaders. "We must stand united against this threat." Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Please, everyone, we can find a way to coexist. Jake has been nothing but kind to us, and together we can achieve great things." The crowd fell silent for a moment, confusion flickering across their faces. Jake stood beside Lyra, feeling the weight of their gazes. "We're not here to take anything from you. We want to share knowledge, to help each other. You have seen what we can create together." But the protest leader stepped forward, anger sparking in his eyes. "You speak of cooperation, but we only see a threat. You cannot be trusted, and we will not allow your kind to ruin our future." A wave of agreement surged through the crowd, and Jake's heart sank. It felt as though all hope was slipping away. "Please," Lyra urged, desperation creeping into her voice. "Give us a chance to show you what we can accomplish together. This project is more than just technology. It's a bridge between our worlds." The crowd remained divided, some murmuring in agreement while others shouted in dissent. The tension hung thick in the air, and Lyra felt the desperation creeping in. As Jake looked around, he felt a sense of foreboding. The shadows of rebellion were gathering strength, and he knew that time was running out. They had to act quickly before fear consumed everything they had worked for. That night, Lyra and Jake returned to the lab, the weight of the protest heavy on their shoulders. They were determined to show the council and the people of Mir that their friendship could withstand any challenge. But little did they know, a storm was brewing, one that would test their resolve and put their lives at risk. The final confrontation. The tension in the kingdom of Mir had reached a boiling point. The protests against the alliance with humans escalated, fueled by fear and suspicion. Lyra and Jake knew they had to take decisive action to prevent a complete breakdown of their efforts. Their hearts raced as they realized that the future of their worlds rested on a fragile thread. One fateful evening, Lyra received word that a crucial council meeting was scheduled. It was a chance to confront the rising dissent directly and present their case once more. With determination, she and Jake prepared for the meeting, knowing it could either save their alliance or tear it apart for good. As they arrived at the council chamber, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Council members filled the seats, their expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. Lyra stood at the forefront, her heart pounding as she faced the assembly. "Thank you for allowing us to speak today," Lyra began, her voice steady despite the storm brewing in the chamber. "We stand here not just as representatives of our worlds, but as allies in a time of great need." Jake stepped forward, his gaze sweeping the room. "We've made significant progress on our energy project, a project that can benefit both our peoples. But we cannot achieve this while divisions tear us apart.